Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Brew-Do mini-series. Brew-Do, Cluedo, whatever you want to call it. Welcome back. I hope you all had a wonderful extended Easter weekend for those who celebrate it and were fortunate enough to get outside of the brewery. It's been a busy couple of weeks for me. If you are one of those very fortunate people to be a Brew Resourceful subscriber, this week you would have got a breakdown of the Iran war's impact on gas prices for the breweries in the UK and beyond. Riveting stuff, I know, but it does genuinely help when you're looking at how to reduce, how to contract gas and electricity in the future, and how this is going to impact us over not just this short term, but medium and long as well. I also shared a bunch of ways of reducing your natural gas consumption in your brewery as well. So yeah, if you want to subscribe, please do. There is a link in the show notes. And just like the last episode, before we get started, look, I really am asking you all to please help me out. I really love the fact you listen, but I'm really keen to get as many people to listen to this as possible. It's been really fun to put this together. I've really, really enjoyed it. I really want this to go out and have people to kind of feel that experience of going through this episode by episode. So if you can please just take a few moments to share a link, which will be in the show notes as well, to this episode, to people you know, into any brewing forums, any WhatsApp groups you have with brewers, anything like that would be just so good. I would really, really appreciate it. It's the best way to I don't really promote this show too much outside of that. I mean, I have it obviously on my socials, etc., but it's quite a small audience. So I would love for anyone just to be able to share this around. I'd really respect that. If you are just listening to this episode for the first time, I'm going to say you need to stop. Go back to at least episode 2, likely episode 1, if you haven't already, and start this mini-series from the beginning. It's kind of a Cluedo. So we're going to do all the clues in the previous episode, and then the answers are in this episode. So you are just about to get a ton of spoilers, which would kind of ruin the whole premise of the show. So if you haven't listened to episode 2 or 1, please stop, go back, and listen. So now we're going to delve into the world of the answers. It's been really cool to see people from all over the world submitting, and I thank every single person for submitting. I really respect and admire everyone who submitted so far. With episode 2, with Alan's problem, there was definitely some clear themes coming through with the answers. A lot of people were looking at CIP contamination, acid contamination, malt contamination. I mean, all three were extensively explored. And when answering what to do next, the majority of people were saying dump the batch. So I am going to share who has got it right, but you will have to wait just a few more moments to find out the specifics of the answers. And then, of course, there was the aspect of what to do next. Now, this part is always subjective. There isn't really a right way of doing it. There's definitely some wrong ways. But I'll give a point for anyone who mirrored what the brewery did, not because it was necessarily the right thing, but just because that's kind of what the game was. So, as I said, can't say exactly what it is yet, but I can say that we had 3 correct answers for this. David Gordon from Lewington, Minnesota, absolutely spot on. Nice and simple answer, but he was absolutely spot on. Got the root cause correct, and the follow-up action mirrored the brewery's action. So that's a 2 for 1. Super impressed. And next up, Jonathan Dale from Litchfield got the root cause correct. Didn't submit what you were going to do next, but that's okay. Let that slide. Definitely a point coming your way. Great answer, Jonathan. And finally, Matthew Bond noted himself as a heating engineer and rookie homebrewer. I think that title of rookie needs to be dropped pretty quickly. Got the root cause in premise correct. The first part of the answer was basically correct. Some minor deviations, but we're going to allow it. Super impressed. So I think someone needs to get this guy a job in a brewery, really. Okay. So let's wait no longer. We're going to bring in the guys and we're going to lay out the answers to this problem. And one of UK Brewing's household names is going to join us to bring in our third problem to solve. All right, so welcome back to the mini-series, Alan, and welcome to the mini-series, Brett.
Hello.
How are we both doing, guys?
Doing good.
Doing great, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Glad to be here.
It's exciting. We've had two pretty big problems, big shoes to fill here, Brett. Excited for your one coming up. Alan, what have you been up to, man, in the last couple of weeks since you put that time-sensitive problem on us?
Yeah, I've been mainly preparing for CBC. It's coming up here at the end of April.
Of course. In Philadelphia this year?
Philly, yep. Yeah, looking forward to it. It hasn't been in Philly for about 10 years. That was my first CBC back in 2016, I think.
No way. I only got to go to one during my career because every time I was going to go, it was either like contract brewing stuff or couldn't find the time. And then it was COVID, then we building a new brewery. So I just never got to go. And then the only one I got to go to was the one in Vegas, which wasn't that long ago.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Which is like full on Americana, you know? It was like,
I really wanted to.
It was good fun.
Make it.
I missed that one too. So looking forward to this one. Yeah, we'll be having a pretty large booth this year. So if anyone happens to be going to Philly, come by, say hi.
Amazing. Brett, have you been to CBC?
Been there a few times. Yeah. Portland, Nashville, Colorado.
Yeah.
And I think one more. But it's just so energizing and I think really energizing. Great networking. I come back usually feeling pumped, excited, and drained as well. Like simultaneously being topped up and emptied at the same time.
Yeah, I actually, this is the first time I went because obviously I was, BeerX has only just been, and that's like the UK CBC. And when I went to the one in Vegas, I was like, oh my Lord, this is a lot bigger. Honestly, I was like, how many days I was there, but I don't think I saw everything.
Yeah.
It was just crazy. The amount of like stands, events, the talks are exceptional. Like it was so good. It was such a great event.
It's incredible. It really is. Especially, the talks were always, I went there mostly for that and then also for networking and understanding what's next coming out in the industry, what's new in the world of making beer, what are the new ways of finding or gluten-free or whatever, but also really practical, like how to do a production management spreadsheet. Like we had like a seminar with like a handful of panelists of production managers talking really, really dry subjects, but that really pertinent to me that were really helpful. So good.
That's actually, do you know what? Not far off the premise of the standard Modern Brewer podcast. Because all the topics are like, to be honest, sound a bit boring. But actually, if you're needing to, if it's helpful, that's really good knowledge because you just can't find it anywhere else. You know, who's writing a book on production management for craft breweries?
Exactly.
Doesn't exist. So it's a good way of getting resources out of people. Brett, maybe let's just, I know a lot of people here in the UK are going to know who you are and recognize your voice, but for the listeners around the world who might not know, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Brett Ellis. I work I live in the UK and around here and work for Murphy & Son. Before that, I was brewing and come very much into the brewing world from a practical background. And I learned how to make beer. Well, before that, I was a chef. And so I got into making beer from a flavor point of view as well. And already creating this like an ephemeral experience that people put in their mouth and smell and draws people together, like food and drink. And so I started making beer the English way at Bristol Beer Factory. Almost forgot that one. And then, cask ale, top fermented, skimming the yeast off. We never had a new generation of yeast, always paying attention, acid washing it every 7 generations and stuff like that. And then my time came where I wanted to set up my own company, own brewery with my business partner, and we set up the Wild Beer Company, which was crazy, absolutely crazy amount of success for the first number of years, and doing beer very differently in this country, and barrel aging oak, barrel aged sour beer and blending, really inspired by other like wine and vintners and distilling, inspired by the different techniques of fermentation, and had like it's very humbling now to be in this position and going around and visiting different breweries, and so many people know me, and I'm like, how do you do how? and it kind of puts you in your place. It's good.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Do you know, and when we were discussing this show before, when we were talking about this problem with Brett, my friend and show manager Jackson, and he was like, "That's Brett from Wild Beer." I was like, "Yeah, man, it is." Yeah,
yeah. That happens.
It was it was a cool journey, man. It was the beers that were coming up was so banging. They were changing. It was like really changing people's perception of what a beer could be in this country. You know,
that was our goal. That was our goal, and also to do it at a scale that meant that it could be a business, and that we could, as well as to like have some amazing sour and authentically wild beers that were permanently available. So like we had a Flanders Red style beer that was, usually those ones would be produced and then offered as like a special once a year, but that meant that you couldn't get into like a restaurant's beer menu because it wasn't it was out of stock for 9 months out of the year or 10 months out of the year, where we would do like 4 blends of modus operandi every year, and those blends would be about 10 to 20 oak barrels worth, and generally we'd do about 12 to 16 different oak barrel blends, whether it be stout or sour beer or smoked beer or different things, but throughout the year.
so cool.
Yeah.
I also remember the iconic bottles. I mean, if anyone hasn't seen them, please Google Wild Beer Company's bottles. They were like, again, iconic for that period of time in the craft beer world here in the UK. It was honestly what everyone was talking about. Great beer, cool branding, great bottles. It was amazing, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they were something else. We tried to really hit the ground running and really put together a package thought through of what the brand looks like, what the beer tastes and smells like, and have some bottles that line up with the way the beer flavor tasted. So it looks appropriate on a dinner table or a white tablecloth, rather than this big 500 ml clunky bottle, which was very common at the time, with this extraordinary liquid inside, but yet it looked like a best bitter. It's wanted them to like line up and be really well put together.
Yeah. It was great, man.
Glad to hear.
Yeah. Thanks for all those times. It was great. Alan, now there'll be people like once again baiting to hear what happened on that fateful day in the brewery. So let's take us back to that moment, right? The brewers come over. We've got the sour dark mash. Let's first go. What did this head brewer do? What were their actions?
Yeah. So when we left off, the head brewer had just been approached saying that we have a sour and dark wort, which is not in keeping with the cream ale base for the peach cream ale. So the head brewer went up and tasted the wort first. Very first step, taste the wort. And he thought it was actually a very pleasant beer. It was a pleasant lactic acid sour, no mold flavors, no funk. So based on that, he had the shift brewer finish out her brew, knowing that the bacteria would be killed off in the boil and the wort couldn't get any more sour, and it tasted fine for him. And so he wanted to get the beer out into fermentation and let it kind of continue that way and come up with a plan down the road. The darkness of the wort was the key to unraveling this mystery, along with the time gap between the previous brew, which was on Saturday, and today, which was Monday. So that brewer from Saturday was brewing a porter. And that brewer had worked that who had worked that day was still off. He wouldn't be back until Wednesday. So there was this time period where something had happened on Saturday with nobody else there. And we were coming in on Monday. The brew log for that porter showed that it was about half a degree of Plato low. So it wasn't reaching the gravity it was supposed to. This was a one-off recipe. It wasn't a big concern at the time. They were playing a little fast and loose with their Platos based on estimates, so it didn't really raise any concerns. But the head brewer wondered if some of that grain had been left in the auger from the basement mill room up into the steel's mash arm. So he took over the task of graining out the mash, going layer by layer, looking for any signs of dark malt as he went through. At the very bottom, some of the very first grain that came through that mash arm was an incredibly sour, because he tasted the mash too, incredibly sour and dark blend of dark and crystal malt. Turns out that brewer on Saturday had a concert and he was rushing to get through work. So he left early. He was rushing every process to try to get out on time. And about 25 pounds of grain were left in the auger. And during the rinsing process, some of the water that had gone through the rinsing at the end of the day ran back through the auger. Again, he was rushing. And over the next 36 hours, that grain in the auger itself soured with the lacto that was naturally on the husk. It was warmed to incubation temperature by some nearby steam piping. This brewery had steam piping from the city, so it was just sitting there warming up, laying in wait for the next brew. So when the Monday brewer came in, started the auger back up from the mill room, then had that gap in time from going from the basement up into the brew house. That was enough time for it to get up into the mash tun and then covered by the fresh grain that they were milling in. And this ended up being kind of a pleasant sour. So the head brewer ordered 400 pounds of fresh cherries and had the Saturday brewer who made the mistake load all of those cherries into whiskey barrels that had previously been used for a Brettanomyces beer, and then aged the quote unquote ruined batch for 6 months and came out with a really, really nice Creek style cherry dark beer. So the next problem was to actually have to deal with how popular that Creek was, and they had to go back and reverse engineer it so that they could make more of it for the future.
And that is amazing. And that, do you know what? I remember that when we first talked about this and I heard it and I was like, what would I do? Continuing on it's not always the logical step, right? And that's it's quite a bold move. Just go ahead. I like it. Just go ahead. Now you hear a lot of people who've made like infected batches and sold them, and generally they don't work out. Not all the time. They're not always. It's because it's not so perfected. Or sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't.
Yeah,
but this
very lucky
like
in this case.
And I love the fact it was like, so you have to then come up with a pro. How do you make this beer again?
Yeah.
Like, should we just get another brewer, book him a concert?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately, they knew exactly what the grain were, and they were able to reverse engineer it from that. But it was a very, very lucky thing. But also, some key takeaways are to make sure that you run your augers empty. Make sure that if possible, have a way to drain liquid from anywhere that the grain could be. And also just record everything so that you can go back and you can repeat these styles. In craft, we tend to play a little bit fast and loose. But tasting it and saying, yeah, this is a good base for a beer, let him proceed and make it again in the future.
I thought the brewer acted quite well as well. I mean, I get, the first bit that goes in, it's not always easy and it's a bit darker. It's a new special bit. You're not always immediately going to flag that. So I get that. But when they realized, they're like, stop, go find someone. This is clearly not right. So I thought they acted quite well in that situation. And it's quite difficult to diagnose that problem as well. So I thought head brewer did an excellent job as well. It's really, really good. I like it's really good to have that exercise my brain. Like, what do I do now? It must act. So really fun. I think that was a fantastic problem, Alan. So thank you so much for bringing that to us.
Thank you.
I'm sure that, again, like everyone, I'll leave your contact details in the show notes. If anyone wants to reach out to Alan, talking to him about similar problems, talk about me about anything, please do reach out. It's an open community here. We're not a closed book. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Alan. This was a lot of fun.
Good to see you, Alan.
And I hope to see you at the next CBC. I won't be at this one, but maybe the next one.
2027. Put it in the books.
2027. See you later, mate.
Bye.
See ya.
Brett, that was good fun, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, what a crazy. I haven't run into that one. No.
No.
Augers are always frustrating, kind of the carryover of malt to the next one, and I I always tried to ensure like like the amount of kilos that would be in the auger, fill it with base malt at the end. So
Mm,
run
yes.
your stout through, and then
Yeah.
but ensure the last 50 kilos or whatever it is base malt. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Definitely used to do that as well.
So there's no
Yeah.
color pickup yeah, color pickup.
Agree. Yeah. I think also the good thing about that problem was the key information in there was around the location. So there
Mm,
was a mill room in the basement, and it's a long auger to get all the way to the top of the mash tun. You see, so
yeah.
that's where that problem. That's how it exacerbates that problem. Because I'm sure a
Mhm.
lot of people are probably thinking, well, an auger isn't that long, but that's a big, big auger going up there. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a really good problem. I really enjoyed it. I tell you what,
Crazy.
actually, talking about breweries.
Yeah.
I do a lot of work with the University of Nottingham here. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Um,
Perfect.
I love Rod and David. They were great people, really fun to work with. And I got the absolute privilege of walking around the brewery at Nottingham Uni. That thing is a piece of art.
It's incredible. Yeah. Yeah. Originally, I think it
Um,
was like £4 million to install, something like that.
yeah, and for people, this is not a big brewery. It's a pilot brewery for £4 million. So you
Like
can imagine how much fun things are in that place. It's
16 hectoliters.
yeah. I mean, no one's seeing a return on investment there, but that
Yeah.
was about innovation, right? That was the
Yeah.
beauty of it. It was
Yeah.
an
Well,
innovation site.
innovation, it could replicate it was originally put in by, I think it was Anheuser-Busch or S,
Hmm.
and it was designed to replicate any one of their brew houses from around the world. So whether it was a mash filter or a lauter tun, or if that it could emulate any water treatment with really advanced deep RO plant and everything. So including
Mm,
centrifuges and different types of filtration and mimicking hydrostatic pressure for like 10-meter tall tanks, but yet I only have like 1 meter. So how do you emulate that on your yeast? So all those technologies are there. Yeah. And we've got access to them now. So that's been really cool with Murphy's. That's one of the things I've been really amazed about with that was the kind of attention to detail that Murphy's gives to all of their products and their customers in terms of like with that with that pilot kit, we're
mm,
now kicking up our ability to like do R&D with our
mm,
customers to like help them implement quite innovative brewing aids or treatments. Like one of them, like Imaboom, is really kind of mind-blowing enzyme that makes your wort less fermentable by like a little bit or a lot, but you can dial it in for session beers, and you can also dial it in for like non-alcoholic beers, but it takes some trial and error, so we're able to help breweries get like those longer projects going.
yeah, that's so cool because if they could emulate every brew house that they had, that probably means that it emulates just about most brew houses that craft brewers see
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
That's super cool. And do you guys do something with the lab there as well? Is that right? Because I
Yeah.
remember when I was there, I looked. I mean, I got look world class. I mean, university labs are just insane, right?
Yeah.
They're
And we run the lab really, and so we've taken on kind of managing it, and they've got technicians with it in house as well, and but then we've got microbiologists and PhD students that we're PhD projects that we're funding and supporting. But that means that all of all of the lab services that we offer as a business, as a lab to brewers or drink industry, to the drink industry, they go through the university laboratory at like a really high spec, and also just brought online a GC
oh
at the
wow.
moment, just specifically for VDK monitoring and testing for maybe your boil or for DMS as well, possibly. I
Mm,
might be corrected on that one, but and then a handful of UCAS accredited lab tests. So like alcohol measurements in beer, gluten-free. We're one of only a few labs that can do gluten-free UCAS accredited tests, which is required for gluten-free brewing. And a whole lot more innovation on that side of stuff this year coming.
That's so exciting.
More tests. Yeah.
Innovation is what we need more of as well, especially around the space. I know a lot of the work that Murphy's does is on reductions in like energy and efficiency and all sorts. So increasing efficiency, reduction on energy. It's really cool to see what is capable here, because everything, especially with that brewery now, that's such a powerful tandem of products and brewery as well. It sounds great. It was a total privilege. I hope that anyone who's listening who can get there can go visit, because it really is like a beautiful brewery and a great space to go see as a brewer. It's a bit like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, isn't it, really?
It really is. It really is. Yeah.
So, Brett,
yes,
this problem that you're bringing
to
the audience today, to the listeners, this is, as always, real life problem, right? That you've dealt with firsthand.
Yeah, this was my problem.
Wild beer. This is my problem.
This was my problem to deal with. Yeah.
This one's coming from the heart. I can tell already. There's a strain in your voice.
Yeah. Because just thinking about the problems that I've encountered, I've actually done a really lot of work trying to like push them back and just not have to bring them up again. So when we started talking about it, I was like, I don't remember any. It's all great. It was all great.
Yeah, it's all sunshine and rainbows.
And then this one came up to mind because it lasted a few years and was so infuriating, because we put so much pride and effort into making sure our beer was great, and it was coming out not great. And so that's all I'm going to introduce at the moment. But where are we going? Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Also, just thanks for letting me be on. And I'm a long-time listener, first-time commenter. Is that how that saying goes? Yeah.
Oh, that's sick, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it's slightly different spin off to the usual, but I think it's after the people who love the Whodunnit. I thought it was really fun. So it's cool to hear that you listen as well. Someone like yourself, it's nice to hear. So shall we see if anyone can solve your problem?
Yeah, let's do it. So the problem that we had, this was a problem that ran for a few years, and was that one day we got a complaint that our beers were oxidized in keg, losing aroma, changing color, and flavor. In the extreme, the beer actually had turned kind of brown or dark purple. It was crazy. What was unique about this is that the complaints were really just coming from within inside the company. They were coming from one of our bars in Bristol. We took it really seriously because we felt as though we were training our staff to communicate. If there's anything wrong, definitely tell us. You're the first customer that will ever get a batch of beer. We need you to tell us everything that's going on, just in case our beer isn't up to scratch. In the bar, we had over 20 beer lines in there. At the time, that was a lot in the time of craft beer in Britain, with really beautiful brand new equipment, highest quality taps and chilling system. All the beer was in a refrigerator below 5 degrees C, so the beer wasn't going through temperature swings and spikes. The complaints came in just 6 months after opening the bar. The heavy oxidation complaints were coming from our pale sour beers, as well as our stronger IPAs or kind of barley wine type beers. And this particular sour beer was keg conditioned. This was the first time it came through. It was keg conditioned, and so we checked those packaging logs. We checked the stronger IPA brew sheets, who packaged them, the equipment we used, what was the DO in the tank the entire way through, from dry hop all the way through to packaging. What was the CO2 spec? We inspected the kegs to see if the keg spears themselves were knackered or broken. So we tried to leave nothing unturned, and we tightened up all of our specs. We kind of had like team meeting and tried to get better at everything we were doing. But then I visited the bar a few months later and tasted everything on tap and was really frustrated because it all just tasted a bit tired, and some of them were a bit darker. There was papery notes, there was oxidation, lack of brightness in our lager and pilsner, and just sweet and bland. So really have to get this sorted. The staff said the oxidation was worse on specific lines, line 7, 8, 17, 18, and 20. Again, these lines often contained the stronger beers and some of the sours, kind of the slower moving ones, really. So I investigated the equipment. I looked behind the bar. I looked through all the fittings. I fixed a few leaks where there was some gas leaks. I went back up to the bar the week after and had a training session with the staff to top up the training on how to take care of your keg couplers, the difference between key kegs and Senki kegs, and how the gas flows, and why we use compressed air on our key kegs and CO2 on our standard kegs. And so we went through a lot of training, kind of refurbished the keg couplers as well. So after doing all that training, we audited our process again, keg cleaning and purging our stainless kegs. We were renting them and we were paying another company to wash them and purge them for us. And so we spent, ultimately it was 2 days because they had two different facilities, but we went and did an audit at their cleaning facility and to see what standards are they running to, what is the inert gas, where are they getting it from, where's their certification, and all that kind of malarkey, all the stuff you got to do with business partners. But it caused us to leave no stone untouched. So our DO in the beer was after all of that, our packaging spec was always under 50 parts per billion. The sour beer pHs were maybe as low as 3, about 3 to 3.9. Our pale ale was 4 to 4.4. Our beers were centrifuged. Generally, the sour beers, not so much. The DO was checked before and after centrifuge. We had rebuilt our high quality keg filler. It's an automatic keg filler. It was quite complex to rebuild that. Just the complexity of the valves and compressed air and CO2 lines, and sometimes they'd be getting stuck open and stuff. So we had to actually strip it all back and put it all back together, which was pretty full on, working with a company that's not even in the UK. So having to do it all over telephone. Then we checked all of our hard piping, looking for pinholes, looking for spots of oxygen ingress, anything that could be an ad hoc or sometimes causing a problem and sometimes not, because it wasn't on everything and it wasn't all over the country. At least it wasn't being reported. We trained our team and then we retrained our team and then we studied ourselves and then we trained our team some more on practices and best practices, including the bar team and the staff. The problem persisted and it was worsening. Usually kegs would pour fine for a while and then start to oxidize. But this time, after a while, it was happening in a matter of days rather than a week of one of the strong beers being left on. Now it was happening in a matter of days. Before the busy season set in, we thought it best that we get the people who installed all the draft lines to come in and check through all the pipe work, and they were incredibly stumped. They could see they could taste what was going on and see the color changing, and so they they stripped the whole system out and put in a whole new one. We thought we were good, and it seemed like it was good for about a year, but then after a year after doing that, it just came back, and incredibly frustrating again. And of course it came back right about then, right before the busy season. This time even worse than before. all the lines were showing serious heavy oxidation and browning, sometimes even a shade of purple. Once again, I rechecked all the batches. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary.
So there we have heavy oxidation causing big headaches.
Big headaches.
And is there anything worse than having your beer taste amazing at the brewery and going somewhere and having it heavily oxidized? I don't know. I think that's up there with one of the worst. I can see why that was stressful for everyone involved, especially you, Brett. So that does leave us with one final question. Can you, the listener, solve this problem? We're going to find out on the next episode in 2 weeks with Brett. He's going to share the solution that they came to fix this problem. And of course, if you don't want to miss that or any other episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I will catch you on the next mini-series episode of Brew-Do.